Hey everyone, good evening. Give me 1 second to make sure that we have an excellent connection. So yeah, guys, welcome. Let's see who we have in the stream. We have Coffee Bean. Civilization is only possible due to coffee. So great
Yeah,
name, great name, dude. I buy the beans, I grind the beans, I yeah, I make the coffee, man. That's good stuff. We have Nix. Dag say Nix. Goed om je te zien. Hello, hoe gaan het met jou? We have Coffee Bean again. Did I say Coffee Bean? Coffee is very important. We have Veronica at the well. We have Chris. And of course, you have Erkin. Welcome. Thank you very much for being here and supporting us. Nicole Schwier. Hello there. And of course, I have Stephen Gilchrist with me, who is the guy that completely stumped Yahya on multiple occasions at Speaker's Corner. And yeah, so welcome, Stephen. Thanks. Thanks for being here.
thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is well. Peace of Christ with you all. And yes, let's go. Let's go, Lloyd.
Yep. So Stephen, so you have the lead today. You're introducing the topic. You're the guy that has experience at Speaker's Corner and listening to the stories that you hear from the
The Muslim
apologist.
apologists, yeah, the
Yeah.
apologists, sorry.
So I'll let you
Um,
run with this one and just explain to us. So introduce the topic, and I'll let you run with this for the most part.
sure. Okay, so today, guys, we're going to look at one of the many, well, one of the most popular Muslim arguments at Speaker's Corner which is, can Allah enter his creation or not? Okay, so that's what we're going to be going through today, Brother Lloyd.
Okay. Niks heeft het net gekomen om te support. Extra vaak wacht nog voor sneeuw. Okay, so she says she came to support us. She's feeling sleepy and she's waiting for snow. There's no snow
Oh,
outside anymore.
okay.
It's
Yeah, it's
yeah,
gone.
the
It's gone.
snow's over here.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly the snow
Yeah.
disappeared very suddenly, but it's worth it if you come and visit during the winter. Snow is awesome
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, it is. It's not in the UK, but I'm sure it's great where you are in Poland. Not great here, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, anyway, yeah, ik is ook fuck. I'm also a little sleepy. It's been a long week, and yeah. So guys, so yeah, Stephen, I'll let you go.
Yes. Okay. Right. So we're going to start with a few verses from the Quran.
Are you
I'm going to
sharing?
share
Because
my
then I'll bring up
I'm
the
going to share
sharing
my
screen.
screen with you. Yeah. Okay. So bring it up now. Is it
Okay.
all up there? Yep. So, okay. So we have the first verse from the Quran is from Surah 67, verse 16, and it reads as
Can you
follows.
just can you just zoom in so that you zoom up the text a bit? Lots of people
Yeah.
watch on
Sure.
cell phones, so
Yeah.
just
Okay.
control scroll on the screen. Yeah,
Yeah. Let's bring that up. Okay.
yeah,
So,
that's pretty
oops.
good. A little one smaller, one smaller.
Yeah. Sure.
Go back,
Sorry
go
about that.
back, go back one more, go back one more. Just find where your text is. Go back one more, maybe. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
normally you just use that. That's fine. That should work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. So it reads as follows. This is Surah 67, verse 16. It says, "Do you feel secure that the one who is in heaven will not cause the earth to swallow you up as it quakes violently?" So what this is saying is Muslims will often use the argument, well, Allah can't enter his creation, so therefore Jesus Christ cannot be God because God cannot enter his creation. But according to this verse, Allah is in his creation because if you speak to any Muslim or any Christian for that matter, you will ask them, well, who created the heavens and the earth? Well, Allah. That's what they will say. That's what a Muslim will say. So if Allah is the one who is in heaven, where is he? In his creation. So this refutes the Muslim argument that Allah cannot enter his creation because obviously, if he's the creator of the heavens and the earth, and this verse is claiming that he is the one who is in heaven, where is he? He's in his creation. So that's you need to use the Muslim sources. They use their own sources against them. If you know the Quran, this will help you refute most of your arguments. Just go to the Quran, and that pretty much nullifies their argument against the Bible. Right? So that's where I'm going to start with that
Okay, go ahead. Please keep sharing your screen, your
screen. Yeah,
Google screen, because now we're seeing your Skype image
yeah. I do
duplicated.
apologize. Yeah, fine. Yeah. So this is one that we would use to. This is one of the main ones. This is the starting point we would use for Muslims
Yeah,
on the
I think for
argument of
Muslims,
Allah.
isn't it that for the most part they argue that Jesus wasn't God because Allah does not come to earth, and so there's generally that's the thrust of the argument that
Yes, that's still used, but I'm gonna bring up another surah that will refute that one really really well actually. So if you go to Surah 27, and we'll go from verses 7 to 9. This is very popular one. Let's see if I can bring it up for you. Bear with me just a sec. I can bring up my screen. Just bear with me. Right, Surah 27, verse 7 to 9. Okay, so um, this one reads as follows. Okay, so remember when Moses said to his family, I have spotted a fire. I will either bring you some directions from there or a burning torch so that you may warm yourselves. That's verse 7. Okay, so Moses is going to the fire. He sees a fire and he's approaching it to bring warmth and light to his family. Okay, so Surah 27, verse 8. But when he came to it, he was called by Allah. Blessed is the one at the fire, and whoever is around it. Glory be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. That's verse 8. Okay, so basically, what this is saying is when Moses approached the fire, um, he was called by Allah. Well, if Allah doesn't enter his creation, who called him to the fire? If Allah doesn't, so Allah must have been in the fire to call Moses to the fire, if that makes sense. So blessed is the one at the fire, which is Allah, and whoever is around it, glory be to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Okay, so then if we now go to verse 9 of the same surah, it says, O Moses, it is truly I am Allah, the Almighty, all wise. So
so how does this jibe with the fact that Allah only comes down to the second heaven or something to the clouds? He doesn't
exactly,
actually enter.
yeah.
So,
Well, even that's entering creation because if he's in heaven and he comes down to the lowest point, which is, I guess, the sky, and he's just above listening to the supplication of those who repent to him, he's in his creation. He's not in heaven. He's not exactly on the earth, but he's on the sky. So he's literally in his creation. So again, this nullifies and refutes their argument of Allah entering his creation. So, O Moses, it is truly I am Allah, the Almighty, the Wise. So Moses was on the earth. He went to the burning bush. He heard a voice from the burning bush, right? So the voice told him, it is I, Allah. So where would Allah have been? On earth. So he's in his creation. So
so there
again,
is this confusion about whether Allah comes to earth or does not come to earth. And so are they just saying that he doesn't because they're trying to say that Jesus was not God and God did not come to earth? Is that really?
yeah, that's 9 times out of 10. That's the hunch of it. They can't bring themselves to admit that Jesus Christ is God because that would nullify Islam. They're there to defend Islam to the hilt. So if they give any indication that they agree with any Christian doctrine or theology at all, it nullifies their argument. They have to leave Islam. Anyone who watches their videos will see. The thing at Speaker's Corner is most Muslims will come with their faces covered. They cannot be seen to be agreeing with a Christian, right? It's not allowed. You can't do that. So anything that will give them an argument against Christianity, they'll use it. But when Christians stump them in the park, there's a problem. So that's the reason why they would normally use this argument is that you cannot agree with a Christian in any way, shape, or form that God can come to the earth. Therefore, Jesus Christ cannot be God. That's the main argument of
But
Muslims.
then
Yeah.
they are contradicting their own Quran.
Quran. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
But then again,
Right.
there's the argument that the Quran is supreme. Now, this is very easily contradicted by any of the scholars, but one simple argument. How many times is the daily prayer mentioned in the Quran?
Yeah,
3 times.
exactly.
How
Yeah.
many times in the Hadith? 5 times. How
Five.
many
Yeah.
times do Sunnis pray? Five
Yeah.
times. Are
Mm-hmm.
they following the Quran or are they following the
Following the
Hadith? Are
hadith.
they?
Exactly. Very, very true. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if the Quran is over the Hadith, then you're praying in lines with the Hadith and not the Quran. So you're pretty much nullifying your own book basically, and you're following the oral sources of Muhammad and not the written word of Allah. So yeah, work that one out.
Okay, so that's interesting. So Allah doesn't. Now, I did mention to last Sunday. I did mention to AT, Us Truth Apologetics, that
Yeah.
when you look at the sources of the Quran, and I know I've mentioned before, I'd love to discuss this. I actually have some notes on it. I need to read some books on this. I have the notes that the sources of the Quran are wide and varied. So the major sources of the Quran are Jewish folk tales from the Targums and out of the Talmud and various other Jewish sources, and also heretical Jewish sources, and then
Mhm.
also from heretical Gnostic sources. I know they call them heretical Christian sources, but really they're not. They're not
Mhm.
really Christian. They're anti-Christian sources.
Yeah.
So you have the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. You have the Israelite Gospel of Thomas. They're two different books.
Yeah.
Then you've got other sources as well. You've got Marcionism. They actually have a name for Marcionism in Islam. They have Arianism. They have Onamoyism. So they've actually taken concepts out of all of these Christian heresies from the third and fourth centuries, and they've taken sources out of Zoroastrianism. They've taken sources out of Hinduism. They've taken sources out of these other religions I've mentioned, and
Yeah.
they've rolled these into
Copy and
Islam.
paste. Copy and paste. That's what it is.
So yeah, and so one of the major reasons that Allah supposedly does not come to earth is that if you look at Gnosticism and if you read through the Reliance of the Traveler, for instance, Allah is Islam is Gnostic. They'll tell you bluntly, Islam is a Gnostic religion, and the mystics of Islam, the saints of Islam, are all Gnostics. And when you read through the major scholarly novels, scholarly books of Islam, Allah is pure spirit. Allah could
Okay.
not come to earth, so he took his light and he created Muhammad because Muhammad is his representative on earth. He's vice regent on earth. So Muhammad is the light of Allah appearing on earth. And Muhammad is the light that illuminates he is effectively the spirit, the Holy Spirit behind Adam, Moses, Noah, David, Solomon, Jesus, and all of the prophets, all of the saints. So this is their so they've got this weird idea that Muhammad is actually the presence and the vice regent. That's the term they use. And also, then you have the Gnostic, the raw Gnostic belief that you had this pure God of spirit, utterly pure, and then you had the demiurge who stole power, created the earth, and the earth is unclean. The earth is matter. Matter is unclean, whereas Allah was pure power. God was pure power and just pure fantasy, pure spirit. And earth is dirty, and therefore the pure, raw spirit God would never enter into matter and be dirtied by matter. So there's a parallel there. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I find that's a bit strange. So if Muhammad is the light of Allah and he's so pure and clean, he performed wudu in a well of dead rags, women's
Yes,
menstrual
he did.
towels, and all of that, garbage.
So,
That's really pure, isn't it? I don't get that.
but he says that water doesn't become dirtied by
Dirty by
anything.
anything.
Yeah.
Okay, all
So
right.
there's a very strange. I mean, they've taken this really weird backwards Gnostic set of ideas and they've twisted even that and got it wrong. Yeah. So go on, please. Yeah.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I know it's alarm for you. Right. Okay. So the next one is Surah 6, Surah Al-An'am, verse 3. He is the only true God in the heavens and the earth. He knows whatever you conceal and whatever you reveal, and knows whatever you do. Right? So again, he's the only true God in the heavens and the earth. But Allah cannot enter his creation. But who created the heavens and the earth according to Muslims? Allah. So if he is the only true God in the heavens and the earth, he's in his creation. So again, that's another refutation of Islamic claims that Allah cannot enter his creation.
So he's the only true God in the heavens and the earth. That's
Yeah,
very interesting. That's
yeah.
very interesting. Coco Jasmine asked, Lloyd, do you know anything about Druze religion? When I was in Lebanon, I've been to Lebanon a few times. I met some Druze, I worked with them, but I know very little. Apparently, it's a synthesis of Islam and Christian beliefs, but I don't know a great deal about it. I know that they were heavily persecuted by ISIS.
Yeah. Did you say Jesuits? Is it the Jesuits?
The Druze,
Ah,
Druzee,
right.
the
Yeah,
Druze.
okay. Jews. Okay. I see.
Actually, it was in Iraq as well. I met one or two in Iraq
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. I've heard Iraq. Iraq's come round in with that name before.
Yeah, but
That,
I was in Kurdistan. I was in northern
right.
Iraq in Kurdistan, Mosul, so near the ISIS border. I was doing some work out there one time.
Okay. That's good. Right. Okay. So next on this one, we go to Surah 20, Surah Taha, and we'll pick it up from verse 9. Right. So let's find that one. So these verses, Christians in the chat or those guys who are viewing, use these against Muslims, and 9 times out of 10, unless you're speaking to somebody who's really hard-headed, you'll stump their arguments and you'll be able to defend the gospel if you know your Bible. And yeah, when it comes to Allah not being able to enter His creation, read the Quran, learn the verses, and any Muslim that you come up against with this pretty much is stumped. So, all right, so we'll go to this is Surah 20, verse 9. We'll start from Has the story of Moses reached you, O Prophet? Okay. When he saw a fire, he said to his family, Wait here, for I have spotted a fire. Perhaps I can bring you a torch from it or find some guidance at the fire. So it's similar to Surah 27, 7 to 9, where uh, Allah appears to Moses in a burning bush. But when he approached it, he was called, O Moses, and so forth from there. So it's the same as 27, 7 to 9. It's truly, I am your Lord, so take off your sandals, for you are in the sacred valley of Tua. Just give me one sec, and then we'll go down from there. I have chosen you, so listen to what is revealed. It is truly I am Allah. There is no God worthy of worship except me. So worship me alone and establish prayer for my remembrance. So again, this is Allah coming to earth, appearing in a burning bush, speaking to Moses from a burning bush, telling Moses from the burning bush that it is He, Allah. Yet Muslims claim that Allah cannot enter His creation. Moses was on the earth, I believe, when this happened. So if you're a human being and you're walking on the earth, and you see a burning bush, and from that burning bush you hear a voice, and that voice tells you that it's God, where is God on the earth? So yeah,
Okay, so how do Muslims, when they say that Jesus couldn't have been God because God doesn't come to earth,
yeah.
how do they respond when you show them their own Quran and they show them their own verses at
Well,
Speaker's Corner?
at Speaker's Corner, they either run away, they go and ask other Muslims, and then come back to you 5 or 10 minutes later because they know they've been stumped and they can't reply to you there and then. So they have to go and get an answer from, say, Yahya or Shamsi or any of the more
Yeah, do they, Yahya would be an
not a very good.
apostate.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So when you're debating Yahya, he has a thing where he'll go away for like 5 or 10 minutes. He'll come back later with an answer for you because he's gotten it from one of the other Dawa gangs in at the corner, and he'll give you an answer that he thinks is refuting you. But no, these are your sources. We always say. So if your God is telling us in your own book that He wrote supposedly that He's entering creation and appearing to Moses in a burning bush, then whatever answer you give to me, what can you give to refute this? This is your God appearing on earth and speaking to a man from a burning bush.
So that's interesting. And then what are the answers to that? What do they say to that?
um, they say, well, God can only speak in spirit, not as a person, or He can only speak from behind, say, a veil or partition, which is in the Quran as well. But even still, if it's a partition or a veil, who is it? It's still Allah, right? Even though He speaks for you from a partition or from a veil, it's still Him. So He's still on the earth. He's still speaking, right? So who is on the earth? Allah. So even that doesn't refute their argument. So no.
Okay, you know what's interesting? The veil. Josie Wales says he sent money to a Lloyd de Jong on Patreon, and I don't have a creator account on Patreon, so yes,
Oh, yeah.
some impersonator with my
Oh,
name
no, no,
is
no, 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 no. That's
lucky
not good.
guy.
No, 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 that's not good.
Yeah, on that idea of the veil, because again, speaking about the idea of Gnosticism, um, The gnosis is it's Greek for knowledge. In fact, I might do a show just discussing Gnosticism. Been wanting to do that, but they speak of the veil. So what happens is the what few people know is there's a division in Islam. There is the Haqiqah and there is the Sharia. The Sharia is one half of Islam. So your clerics that are the lawyers, the jurists. Okay, so remember you don't have priests, you have lawyers. Right? I try to explain this to people. So on the one side, all your imams, all of your sheikhs, all of your qadis, these are all jurists. They're all legal practitioners. So this is the Sharia side of Islam. Then you have the other side that is not discussed by lay Muslims because they're not allowed to go there. It's forbidden to them. This is called the haqiqah, the ultimate reality, the truth. And this is the spiritual side, more properly called the occult side of Islam. And there you've got the veils, and here they go through Gnostic practices, they do rituals, they do spells, they have to do incantations. And there are
Wow.
99 veils. They have to go down a path, they call them the stations. They have to go down these stations, they have to do meditation, they have to bring themselves to certain states, they have to pierce the veils, they have to tear away the veils, they have to go through the veils through Allah has 99 names, so you've got to go through 99 stations. You have to go through all these veils until you enter into the throne room of Allah.
Wow.
Right. So when they say of the veil, they actually have to do these ritual practices, and it's really weird once you start reading it. Islam, people have no idea what's in Islam, and once you
Yeah, do you
really
know
look
what?
into it, sorry, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was gonna say even the stuff that you gave me before I started streaming with you. Wow. I mean, the whole Baphomet Muhammad thing, and I have to say that's opened up my eyes. I had no idea that existed either, because I don't have access to these sources like you have. I know a few Quran verses, I know a few hadiths, I read a bit of the Sirah, I've read a bit, I know a few tafsirs, but when you go into the actual practices and the
yeah.
deep theology of it, and the occult side of it, it's really, really eye opening. Yeah, it's strange, really, really strange stuff, really strange
Yeah.
stuff.
And this is why they focus heavily on just the Quran and the Hadith because that keeps you from actually seeing
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Islam is
that,
really about.
yeah,
You have no idea. If I start talking about Islam, oh, man, I'm gonna sound like the guy who told you I saw a UFO and I was probed and that I met Bigfoot and Bigfoot's my father. That's
yeah.
how it's gonna start sounding
It's
if I start
mental.
telling you
It's
what's in
mental.
Islam.
Yeah, it's really, really. I had no idea because, as you said, Muslims won't tell you this because they're not supposed to. So it's up to you to learn it and read it for yourself. But once you actually, just you alone, Lloyd, you gave me. I got that book, the Digest of Muhammadan Law. I downloaded it and I
Right.
started reading it. I thought, my God, this is wacky, wacky stuff. It's like, my goodness.
Yeah.
But
Can
yeah,
I maybe share
this.
something? Just show something. So someone's mentioned this. Do you mind if I just show this?
Yeah, of course. No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
If
It's
I
your
just take
show.
a
Go
moment and
ahead.
do a divergence, I just do a small little bit of a divergence. Guys, I'm just going to display, I'm going to capture my second display. And so you guys can see this, okay? So if we go back to, I think about the 14th, 15th centuries, Baphomet is Muhammad, okay? So let's have a look at this. Coffee bean, yeah, you've never heard this before, but yeah, there's a lot. You'd be shocked.
Yeah.
Start reading about Islam, read their Sharia manuals. You have no idea.
No idea at all.
Muslims have
Don't
no
know. Yeah,
idea
exactly.
what is
No
in
idea.
Islam. They
Yeah.
don't have a clue,
Yes.
right? So I want you to notice this is the star and crescent of Islam. Here you've got the moon and the crescent, the star and the crescent of Baphomet, okay? And again, you've got the dark moon, okay, with the star. Now, so modern scholars agree that the name of Baphomet was an old French corruption of the name Muhammad, with the interpretation being that some of the Templars, through their long military occupation of the Outremer, had begun incorporating Islamic ideas into their belief system, and that this was seen and documented by the inquisitors as heresy. So the reason that the Templars were considered heretical and were hunted down is because they started to incorporate Muslims became Templars, and the Templars started to worship Baphomet, who was Muhammad. In fact, they converted to Islam. They adopted Islamic beliefs. So in the Chanson de Simon Pieux, written before 1235, a Saracen, so don't forget, before they became Muslims, before the term became popular or known, they were called Saracens. Jay Smith speaks about this a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
And that's why
Saracen,
if you see,
go on.
sorry, that's why if you see, there's a rugby club in the UK called Saracens, and their
Mm,
symbol is a moon and a star. So if any of you guys who think Lloyd is telling a lie or he's not being truthful, that's the evidence for you right there. He's telling the truth.
yeah.
Islam is satanic.
So in the Chanson de Simapure, written before 1235 of Saracen, Islamic idol is called Baphomet. And a chronicler of the First Crusade, Raymond of Aguirre, called mosques Bafumarias. Peter Partner states in his 87 book, The Knights Templar and Their Myth, in the trial of the Templars, one of the main charges was their supposed worship of a heathen idol head known as Baphomet. And Baphomet is supposed to be a corruption of Mahomet. Mahomet, Baphomet. So
Yeah, yeah,
Baphomet, now let's go to the Oxford English Dictionary. You guys may have heard of this thing. This is the 1984 printing, the 23rd printing, page 659. Baphomet. Baphomet, also known as Maphomet, Muhammad, right? A form of the name Muhammad used by medieval writers. The name of the idol which the Templars were accused of worshipping. According to Abby Constant, quoted by blah blah, this word was Kabbalistically formed by writing backwards. Backwards writing, that is part of
yeah,
satanic
yeah,
practices.
yeah, yeah. That's satanic. That's satanic. That's
Baphomet is a
definitely satanic.
secret word ascribed to the Templars. So Baphomet is Muhammad.
That's why
So Baphomet is
that's
Muhammad.
one is in reverse. It's not from
Yeah,
left to right. It's from right to left. That's another indication of backwards writing. Evil works in reverse, they say. So
yeah,
yeah, that's another eye opener for you.
yeah. So I'll hand over back to you. So Ishmael McDuffie says, "What? Send me the link in chat. I need this for my Muslim bros. They need the truth." Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
guys.
absolutely.
I will actually. This is online. If my OneDrive link is in the description, this will be in the OneDrive link. This is under the notes called Muhammad, the seal of the prophets. Actually, let me just bring that up. Let me just get to the top of this file quickly. So yeah, guys, it's if the OneDrive link is there, you will find it. If not, so this is part of my presentation I've done before called Muhammad, the seal of the prophets. Now, I don't know if the prophets happen to have a mascot, I think they would probably prefer a puppy, but you've got Muhammad who chose to be a seal, so I don't know what the heck.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
or maybe I
Wow.
misunderstood something. I can't be sure. But yeah, I will. It's in the so check in the OneDrive link. It'll be there called Muhammad Seed of the Prophets, and if not, I will add it.
Yeah, but so you guys, just to let you know, he's telling the truth. Lloyd is he's opened my eyes to things I never knew about Islam. Right, like I said, I'm a Christian, so I'm from a Christian family. I started to go to Speaker's Corner a few months ago, and I've met a few Muslims. And as Lloyd has said, they don't know this about Islam. So, Lloyd has opened my eyes and showed me a lot of stuff as well. So things about Islam that I never knew. So please learn it. It's to help you see that Islam is from Satan. It's not a religion of God. It's nothing to do with God at all. It is from the devil. And as Christians, we need to combat it through learning their scriptures and what their religion teaches, so that we can engage with Muslims and save them from their own religion, basically, because it's sending them to hell. And we need to bring them to the truth. So everything Lloyd's telling you is the truth. So don't doubt this. This is the truth. So yeah, absolutely. It's horrible. It's really, really bad religion.
Yeah, yeah, the guys. If I start talking about some of what's actually in there, it's
Yeah,
you won't believe it.
yeah.
It's just crazy. It's just
It's
crazy.
horrible. It's really bad.
Uh,
Yeah.
I've got a
Okay.
friend
So
I need to speak to one time. He knows much more about the occultic side of it than I do, and
yeah,
he's
the
done a lot of
occultic
research.
side of it is.
For instance, well, actually, let me not go there. That's a diversion. I don't know as much about it as I do about some of the other things. But the Hakika side of Islam, I don't know that well. But I have a friend who's got some knowledge of it, and it's crazy stuff once you go down that rabbit hole. So yeah, just continue, and we'll continue the conversation,
Yes.
Stephen.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I will do. Right, so a few more. We've got Surah 7, verse 143. And this reads as follows: When Moses came at the appointed time and his Lord spoke to him, he asked, My Lord, reveal yourself to me so I may see you. Allah answered, You cannot see me, but look at the mountain. If it remains firm in its place, only then will you see me. When his Lord appeared to the mountain, he leveled it to dust, and Moses collapsed unconscious. When he recovered, he said, Glory be to you. I turn to you in repentance, and I am the first of the believers. That's Surah 7, 143. So this surah, this verse, Moses spoke to his Lord, which, well, Musa is the Islamic Moses. He spoke to his Lord, which is Allah. My Lord, reveal yourself to me so I may see you. Allah said to Moses, you can't see him, you can't see me, but look at the mountain. So if it remains firm and in its place, only then will you see me. So when his Lord appeared to the mountain, he leveled it to dust. So how can a mountain be leveled to dust unless something greater than a mountain comes to earth and levels the mountain? So again, this proves that Allah came to earth and leveled the mountain, which caused Moses to collapse and fall unconscious. And when he woke up from his unconsciousness, he said, "Glory to Allah." So Allah again came to earth, leveled the mountain, and revealed himself to Moses. So Allah entered his creation.
Yeah, this strikes me as a small parallel here. If you go back into the you go back to the Old Testament, the Jews had to build the sacred Holy of Holies inside the temple.
Yeah,
The priests had to purify themselves for about 3 days to a week before they could even enter.
go into the
So
temple.
they
Yeah,
had to be extremely pure
yeah,
before they could enter. And otherwise, if they entered, they would die because their impurity would be destroyed in God's presence, right? In the presence of the Holy Spirit.
yeah.
And of course, this changed with the advent of Jesus. Now you've got a process where God found a way to remove sin from man so that they could enter into his presence without having to intercede
Yes,
through the priest and with the
absolutely,
sacrifice.
absolutely.
And so God could not enter creation technically. So, there is this parallel. And
Mm.
Muhammad came to basically, Islam sees itself as a continuation of Mosaic law. Of
Yeah,
course,
rubbish.
it demotes Jesus, it
Hmm.
elevates Muhammad to the status of Muhammad Jesus, the counterfeit Jesus.
Yeah,
And you've got this idea that still Allah doesn't, or God doesn't come in. You can't enter into the presence of God because he's separate from us. And
hmm,
so and also Islam affirms, they say that we must practice what is affirmed by Muhammad. So Islam affirms certain teachings of Moses and Muhammad, and the rest that's rejected, they must not follow. But so there's a continuation of this idea, but it's a distortion of the idea of the purity of God and the separation from humans. Whereas this changed, and now there's no separation, and they're denying this fact of
yeah,
Christian
yeah.
theology.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what they will say is, well, when Jesus came, he made all foods clean, and he did away with circumcision. He said, "Do not look at the circumcision of the body; look at the circumcision of the heart." But Muslims still circumcise their young boys. But if Jesus has done away with that and he came before Muhammad, so basically Jesus come with the fulfillment of the law, the New Testament, but then Islam comes along 600 years later and puts everything back in reverse. That's Islam, right? If Moses was alive today, he would have stoned Muhammad to death as a false prophet, Deuteronomy 18, 20, 18 to 20. So yeah, Muhammad being equal to the prophets or greater than them in terms of customs, tradition, scripture, and law. No way, no way, no chance at all, because Muhammad comes along and totally undoes the work of Jesus and goes against the prophets. He breaks every single one of the Ten Commandments. He's not a prophet. He's a false prophet. Um, he's demon possessed. He died of poisoning, and Allah did not protect him. This guy's not a prophet, but Muslims, they've been so indoctrinated by this ideology that we need to save them. They need saving, basically. Muhammad's not a prophet at all. He's a demon. He's a devil.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one.
Right, okay. Let me bring up the next one. Let me just got my notes right here. The next one is 4810. Let me go to that one. So, Surah 4810. This is the last one on my list, actually. So, I'm going to go through this one very quickly. But, all these arguments are to basically nullify the Islamic concept that Allah cannot enter his creation. Once you're able to do this, you'll be able to then offer the Christian alternative to whatever a Muslim's saying to you. If they tell you that God cannot enter his creation, then use these verses from their book. This is their book, not yours. Use their own book against them, refute them, and then give them the beauty of the gospel. Okay, so Surah
Yeah.
48:10. Surat Al-Fath, verse 10 says, "Surely those who pledge allegiance to you, O Prophet, are actually pledging allegiance to Allah. Allah's hand is over theirs. Whoever breaks their pledge, it will only be to their own loss. And whoever fulfills their pledge to Allah, He will grant them a great reward." So Allah's hand is over theirs. So if Allah's hand is over anyone, he has to come into creation to put his hand over somebody. So Allah would have to enter his creation for that. So again, Allah's in his creation.
Yeah, this also leads to a theological conundrum for Muslims because some verses say that Allah's hand. So Muslims don't know whether Allah has one big hand
Yeah,
or
or
whether
two right
Allah has
hands.
two right hands. In fact, both sides of Allah's body
Yes.
are the right hand side because the left
Yeah.
hand side is evil. So
Yeah.
we don't know whether Allah has two right hand sides
Mhm.
or two hands or one hand, two right hands. Allah has two right hands,
Yeah.
one big hand, or whether he's got two right sides.
Yeah.
So this leads to some crazy. It's not a metaphor. It's a lot. The coffee bean. The Quran is supposed to be literal, but if you find a number of contradictions, right?
Yeah.
I want to show you
Oh
guys
yeah.
something else. So this is going to be
Yeah.
always more fun and games with Islam, but we spoke about we spoke about. So here's something interesting you might like to know about Islam. Okay, how Islamic ideas have spread. I'm just going to take this away. Uh, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Quran. The
Is that the K?
Quran
Is that the KKK book you were talking about?
The Quran is the handbook of the Ku Klux Klan. Okay,
Look at that.
which is a mixture of Klan and Quran. The KKK was inspired by the Quran. People don't know this. So you have the Quran. This is the handbook of the KKK. KKK is not Christian. Just like Islam claims to be Christian, the KKK claim to be Christian, but they're Islamic. It's the clan and the Quran, the club of the Quran, the clan of the Quran. Sorry, it's the clan of the
Ah,
Quran.
is that what it is? That the abbreviation for it?
Yeah, well, it's the clan of the Quran. So
Yeah.
this is insane. And yeah, but of course we can't talk about this because now let's have a look. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, the Templar Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Because I don't know if this looks familiar. Do you see this little knight, this little
Yeah.
Templar knight on the horsey here?
Oh gosh.
See, this is what happened to the Templar Knights. Do I need to say anything further?
Uh, yep. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it.
So guys, so the Templar Knights were infiltrated, to my knowledge, by Muslims. They were co-opted, they were infiltrated and co-opted, and they became effectively Muslims, and that's why it wasn't for stealing their gold. It was because of their heresy that they were excommunicated and hunted down. They were Muslims who stood against the church, who stood against Christianity, against Jesus. And yeah, here you go. Here's your modern Ku Klux Klan. Sorry, your modern Templars. My bad.
Good grief.
Just so you know, does this look familiar? This little symbol here, this you guys seen
Yeah.
this before,
Yeah.
right? Need we
Mm,
look at some Templar Knight pickages? No, yeah, because you know exactly what you'll find.
yeah.
So yeah, guys,
Yeah.
any comments on that?
There you go. Yep. There you go. That's Lloyd telling the truth, guys. So he's not lying. Yep. I can't
Yeah,
say anything more. No. You brought me this information. You told me about it. I went away. I went away and studied it and read it, and everything you're saying is bang on the money. So
yeah. So Josie Wells said white robes with the red cross on the horse. I wonder who else
yeah.
did that.
Mm,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. I just need to be stroking a white cat at this point.
Mhm, yeah.
But guys, seriously, you got to look at this. The
Yeah.
symbolism, it's Islamic, and there's more of this. You need to start looking into some other secret organizations, okay? Because trust me, you start digging into the Illuminati, guess what you'll
Yes.
find?
Yes.
You
Yes.
start looking into
Um,
the
there was,
Freemasons,
yeah,
guess
exactly.
what
The
you'll find?
Freemasons. Yeah. Yeah. Freemasons. I was going to bring something up about that. There's a guy in Florida. Obviously, this whole Illuminati Freemasonship. The guy actually sacrificed his son to get higher up in the ranks of this secret society that he was involved with. And his symbol is, guess what? A half moon and a star. Where have you seen that symbol before?
Fascinating. So understand. So look, I mean, we may not agree. I mean, like, I'm not exactly a conspiracy theorist. I made sure
Yeah,
ISIS didn't blow stuff up, quite
yeah,
bluntly. That was my job. If it blew up, I didn't do my job. If it didn't blow up, I was doing my job. So, easy to see, easy to know if I was doing my job correctly. No one died. I
Yeah.
was doing well.
Yeah.
So very, very easy to tell. Very easy to tell. Really, those planes haven't exploded. We're good. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy
Sorry, so
stuff,
I'm very
man. Really.
practical, but the fact is, we don't have to believe this, but they believe it. And the symbolism is you'd be surprised where you'll
Yeah.
find the symbolism.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we should move on and get off the conspiracy theory thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a conspiracy theorist myself, but when people get involved in this stuff and they're using the same symbolism as this
Yeah,
7th century caravan robbing, child
actually,
molesting.
someone brought up. So hold on. Actually, yeah. You know what? Since we're on this little jaunt here, I may as well, guys. Okay, guys. I want to, and I'm going to just go on for a minute, talk about this, and I will just prep something else to maybe introduce because I had someone who mentioned his brother was in the Masons for a while and he doesn't want to speak about it, and I'll mention
Yeah.
something. Yeah, go
Okay.
on.
Yeah, so this is Freemasonry. A lot of this is in most of the symbolism of the Freemasons is Islamic symbolism, symbols of the moon and the crescent, and most of it is Islamic. So Lloyd is telling the truth about this stuff. All these evil and wicked cults, they use Islamic symbolism. So Islam is pretty much heavily associated with Satan, the devil, and the occult, basically. So don't take this as light information. It's the truth. Islam is from the devil, and we need to combat it as efficiently as possible to save souls and stop people from going to hell. Basically, Lloyd is telling the truth. So listen to him, take his information in, read his
Yeah,
stuff up for yourself. Um, he's telling the truth. So yeah, thank you
yeah.
for enlightening me,
Actually, let me
Lloyd.
bring up something else. You're welcome. You're welcome, guys. I want to show something. So, let's actually talk about something. So the Freemasons, right? Again, I don't know as much about this as I do about the Sharia because I can actually get my hands on the books and read those things. I have a
Yeah.
friend who's very knowledgeable, and I should speak to him at some point. But with the Freemasons, you enter into a certain level, and then at a certain advanced level, you can enter into another organization which is above the Freemasons called the Shriners. So when you're an advanced Mason or Master Mason, you can then apply and go through the process to become a Shriner. Okay, this is the basic Shriner symbol. You'll see the star and the crescent. If you just rotate this 90 degrees to the left, you'll see it's the
Mm.
symbol of Islam,
Islam.
right? Just so, by the way, just out of sheer coincidence, you'll see it here. Notice, though, we also have the sword of Muhammad. This is the scimitar of Muhammad, right? So that is very much the Islamic sword. Now, let's continue. The Shriners have a couple of distinctive features, and one of those are the Shriner fezzes. The fezzes were date back. I have it in my notes in a different series. I discussed it once. I did some research on this. They murdered 50,000 Catholics in Morocco, I believe it was. And these fezzes, these Shriner fezzes, were created to celebrate this victory against the Christians, this massacre. Now, notice these are American Shriners. These are Americans. Notice what you see here on this hat. You see the star and crescent, the sword of Muhammad, and the word Islam. These are the Shriners. You go through the Masons, you then become a Shriner, which is above the Masons. Islam, Islam, Islam. You can see
Mm. Yeah.
Syrian. These are all Masons. Sorry, so don't forget, most of these Shriners will be Masons. Now, when you read the actual indoctrination, the ritual to become a Shriner, it's entirely Islamic. You give
Islamic.
allegiance to Muhammad, you give allegiance to Allah, you give allegiance to Islam. You go through this whole indoctrination ritual, and you actually give all sorts of allegiance. You go through this process, and you won't believe it, but you have to read it. There are books on it. Read it yourself, and it's you're like,
Mm.
this can't be real. These guys
Yeah.
are, and of
They're
course,
Muslims.
now I don't have all my notes here. I didn't plan for this, but if you look at the first temple, okay, it's called a mosque. Just so by the way, and the first temple in New York, and there it's called the Mecca Temple. Just sheer coincidence. I don't know what's in Mecca. Did you know of anything in Mecca that's of relevance to Islam? Just out
Yeah.
of sheer
A bit.
curiosity.
A big old
maybe,
black stone and a Q building. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what they got there.
And
Yeah.
so they have mosques. So the Shriners have numerous mosques, and they worship at mosques. So, but they're not Islamic.
Yeah,
That
exactly. Same same thing with this guy in Florida. This Freemason was in Florida. The guy who sacrificed his son, and he did the deal with a person who he of his organization to do the killing in a mosque.
yeah.
So yeah,
So understand, if you start looking at Shrine of Fezes, you'll start seeing numerous Islamic terms and words.
Islamic.
You'll see
Yeah,
Islam, you'll see Allah, you'll see all sorts of phrases. Some of them are ritualistic phrases that have various meaning, but
yeah,
you're going to find all sorts of Islamic phrases all over this. And I'll stop you guys. That's enough on this topic, but
yeah.
I'll get back to what you were doing.
Right.
So,
I'm actually finished, Lloyd. That's just a few points on
okay.
Allah not being able to end his creation. When you read the Islamic texts, use the surahs and the verses I've given you, you'll see that's a lie, and Jesus Christ wins, basically.
All right. No, thanks. That was very interesting. Yeah, it's just that, yeah, he comes down to earth. Pardon me, he is in earth, and yet he doesn't.
Yeah,
So it's really they just want to deny the fact that Jesus was a true deity. So
that's
that's
correct. Yeah, that's the hunch of it. They can't admit that Jesus is deity because it goes against Islam. Because Allah says he's only a prophet. He's not the son of God. He wasn't crucified. He didn't take away anyone's sins. That goes against what Islam teaches and says. So they have to argue and defend their position, basically. But once you prove that from using their own sources that God can enter his creation, then you pretty much nullify their argument. I mean, Surah 19:17 says that the angel came to Mary in the appearance of a well proportioned man. So if you're telling me that an angel can appear as a man, but God can't appear as a man, basically you're saying that the angels are more powerful than Allah. So the angels can do something that Allah himself can't do. So that nullifies Islam. That just nullifies Islam. So to be
Islam
honest
just
with
eats your brain, man. That's wow. That's
you,
crazy.
ridiculously.
That makes no sense.
Yeah,
That
doesn't.
makes no sense. No, thank you for that. That's actually very interesting information. And I can see that they just go silent. Like when I show them stuff, they go silent.
Yeah, I'll bring it up for you now. Just as a last
Yeah,
last point, lasting point.
you know.
If I go to Surah 19, so I've memorized a few of these verses. That's how sad I am. No, I enjoy learning about Islam because I've got a lot of Muslim work colleagues and a lot of Muslim mates, and they don't know half of what I know about Islam. So basically, they go to their mosques and their imams fill their heads with junk, and they tell
Yeah,
them what to believe, and they don't actually read the Quran themselves. They don't do anything. They believe what they're told. So once they come
correct.
into contact with me and guys like yourself, Lloyd, and other Christians who know their own Islamic sources, and they start to engage with them, we can then begin the process of bringing them to the truth. So Surah
Yeah.
19, verse 17,
Could
screening
I just pause it?
herself. Yes, go
So
ahead.
can I
Yes,
just read some questions in in the chat? There was some
you can.
questions. Let me just
You
go
can.
to the chat. So Erkin says Fez were very common. So he says Shrine of Fez were very common in the late 19th century Ottoman Empire. We even have an idiom for that in Turkish, which is I think looks like Çılkini çıkarmak, deshrine the Fez, meaning pushing something to an unnecessary extreme. And yeah, so then daughter of Almasi, thanks for that, Derek. And that's very interesting. There must be a lot of information. Okay, here's the thing. I have a contact who has a friend who is currently going to a library, I believe, somewhere in Turkey. He's going to be doing some research. If anyone has something that we need to look at, which is he's going to be examining some old Islamic documents, some old Sharia manuals in Turkey, some old Ottoman documents. If anyone has something that is worth looking for, or, searching for, let me know, and I will ask. I'll send it on, and I'll ask them if they can do some
Good.
research on that while they have
That's,
someone doing some academic work there. That'll be interesting. So
that's
please
good.
let me
Yeah.
know. Drop it in the comments, not the chat, because I probably might miss it in the chat. So, Daughter Valmasi says, I heard degree 32 is Islam, just to get to 33 and learn that the lie is actually Lucifer. Okay, then we have Josie Wells says, everyone thinks that the Shriners are cute driving around in their little cars. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, of course. And then I'm surprised that they explicitly write Islam on the hat. Not very subtle.
Yeah,
Yes, Veronica. They
exactly.
write
And
lots of things on their
do
hat.
you know what?
Good.
In big old white writing as well, it's just
Yeah.
like you can't miss it. It's like a lamp on the hat. Islam,
And
you know?
then,
Like,
yeah, Jesus saved me says, yeah, I got slapped in the face with information. Man, I don't want to talk about a lot of this stuff because it just starts to get weird.
yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
it just
Gives you
starts to get
nightmares. Don't read it at night time before you go to bed. You will have nightmares.
Ishmael
Guaranteed.
McDuffie says, I heard once you get to 33rd degree Mason, they tell you Allah is God. Now I see why. And yeah, Jesse Wells' information is power. Yes, it
Yeah,
is. And then
absolutely.
Ishmael McDuffie, Allah is imaginary. Yeah, well, I mean, sure, but he's real to these people, right? Dejan Dimitrievich says not only that, but Maryam, when he talked to him, Ruach called him Rabbi, only who is called Rabbi is Allah. Okay, I'm not quite sure how to understand that. And yeah, did I miss any comments? Yes, most followers of Islamic ideology don't know or understand their own beliefs, and I believe that is true. Josie Wales,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I've got a friend at work, and I've never been to her particular mosque, but she's told me when she goes, they don't read the Quran, they don't read Hadith. The Imam tells them what they need to believe. They give them their interpretation. They leave the mosque. They may read the Quran at home. They may read the Hadiths at home, but they are not instructed or given any scripture inside their actual place of worship. So, um, you know, we probably know more about Islam than they do.
Yeah, I've just posted a link to the KKK Templar Knight image for you guys to find, just so you know. Yeah, just search up and you can just look for the word Cloran in
Flora.
Wiki. Yeah, just look up the Cloran. Yeah. And then Daughter Balma says, I tend to believe because Allah is anagram for halal, which is Lucifer in the Bible, Hillel bin Shahar, son of the dawn.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh
Ah,
wow, son of the dawn, the light bringer,
yes.
the light
That's
bringer.
good. Daughter Al
Which
Masih. That's
is
good. Yeah.
halal, which is Lucifer in the Bible, Hillel bin
Oh.
Shahar, son of the dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, if you look at the crescent, right, when it's inverted like that sideways, it's kind of like a rising sun. But I don't know. Look, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's above my pay grade, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, I like to speak about things that I know very well. I can defend if I discuss it, and I have the references and sources.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
in this case, though, I'm not as knowledgeable, so I'm just careful. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So you were telling us, sorry,
Yes.
go on, please.
Lastly, Allah can't be. So the angels can appear as a man, but Allah can't. Finally, just to finish, Surah 19, 16 to 17. So this is Surah Al Maryam, Mary, mother of Jesus, of course. Well, according to Islam. I mentioned in the book, O Prophet, the story of Mary when she withdrew from her family to a place in the east. Let me just bring down verse 17. Screening herself off from them. Then we sent to her our angel, or Ruh, which is Gabriel, appearing before her as a man perfectly formed. So if the angels can appear as men, why can't Allah appear as a man if he's God? So basically, if the angels can appear as a man but Allah can't, then the angels are more powerful than Allah, and Allah has created his angels to do something that he himself cannot do, which is ridiculous. So, yeah, that's my last 2 cents on that.
All right, nice. Thank you very much, guys. If you have any questions, drop it in. I have one question I want to ask you. What's that term where they talk about the ahruf and the kiraat? Yeah, hello.
That's different recitations of the Quran, different styles of
Yes, yeah.
recitation.
I just need to find
Um,
something.
yeah.
Guys, yeah, I want to show you something. Do you mind if I share? Just since we're on this whole weird, this weird Friday rant. Andrew Martin says, "Allah is simply Muhammad's stone idol and an alternate personality to Muhammad." Yeah, very likely. But guys, so since I'm here, I'm gonna thank you. So ahruf and kiraat. Now I've spoken with other Christians and apologists, and of course Muslim scholars are all over the place with this, and there's a reason why they are so vague about this. There's a reason they say there's about 900 different meanings of ahruf. Nonsense. Crap. Excuse my French. No, no, no. There's like three. There are two very basic ones, which are minor, and there's one major one. Let's have a look. Let's have a look, see if I'm wrong. This is the Encyclopedia of Islam. It's the major academic work in the Islamic world. It's written by Islamic scholars. It's not written by evil Christian missionaries as much as. So let's have a look. Harf, singular, plural, huruf or ahruf. It's a letter of the alphabet, and that is true, but it's a very basic definition. It's just a letter of the alphabet, nothing more to it, or a word. Okay, great, because Arabic words often, or will have, any Arabic word typically has at least three meanings. It's very common in Arabic like that. Now, notice they also mention here it's a Quranic reading or dialect. So, a Quranic reading or dialect, and that is true. But it also has other meanings. Let's have a look at the major. Now, if you go, now you'll see here We've got volume 3. If you go to volume 3, page 204, column B, that's the right hand side column, you'll find more about its meaning as word in grammar. If you go here, you'll find out more about this. And if you go to dialect, volume 3, 205B, they'll tell you a bit more. However, if I remember correctly, if you go to volume 3, page 595B, you're going to find like 2 or 3 pages of description. So here you'll have a few sentences saying, oh yeah, it's a dialect. Oh yeah, it's a word. Here is where you're going to find the actual detailed meaning of what Ahruf means. Let's read. Ahruf, onomatomancy, a magical practice based on the occult properties of the letters of the alphabet and of the divine and angelic names which they form. This is the major full definition of Ahruf. And this is why they waffle about it, because they don't want you to know it's occult
Yeah,
magic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You mentioned this before, actually. You mentioned this, how they put the words together to form certain chains of meanings in occult and oh gosh,
Yeah,
gosh,
this
gosh.
is why 20% of the Quran, 20% of the Quran is gibberish. As you know, people will tell you, any proper competent translator will tell you, any scholar will tell you 20% of the Quran is total gibberish,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So the reason it is total gibberish, the reason that it is gibberish is that these are simply phrases because they have occult practices. You will say these gibberish words to disassociate your mind from your intellectual mind so that you can leave your intellectual mind, separate yourself, and then penetrate the veils, these 99 veils. You can penetrate, go through these stations, the annihilation of the mind, the annihilation of the soul, the annihilation of the body, and then and all these other weird stations they call them, and then you go through and you pierce the veils until you get into the throne room of Allah and enter into the light of Allah. And Muhammad is the first of the Islamic saints to do so. He entered into the throne room of Allah. He is the Nur al-Muhammadi. The Nur al-Muhammadi is the light of Muhammad, but it's more than that. The Nur al-Muhammadi is the ultimate reality. Muhammad saw the ultimate truth. He became part of Allah's ultimate truth. So he was created by Allah, and then he returned to Allah using these magical practices, and that's why you see these occult references. Islam Critique has mentioned them very vaguely, but when you start reading through the Sharia manuals of the scholars, then you start to find some really interesting things. But Akhruf, this is the major meaning of Akhruf. Onomatomancy, a magical practice based on the occult properties of the letters. So all the repetition, all the numbers, all of the nonsense words, all of the
yeah,
continuous repetition,
yeah,
magical occult practices.
yeah. Wow, wow. Yeah, you mentioned this, and I haven't done too much reading on this any further because obviously I was going through these manuals. But you did mention this, and yeah, you've touched on this before. I need to look into that a bit more. Actually, I think one question for you: when you
Sure.
mention these occult words and practices, does it can you actually spot that in the Quran itself? If you is there a certain
There are very
method that you can?
vague references to it. So interestingly, okay. So just so by the way, I don't have it right now. It would take me a minute to look it up. But if you read the covenant, not the covenant, the charter of the Muslim Brotherhood, if you read the Hamas charter, chapter 2, so you're looking at article 2, sorry, of the Hamas charter, they say that the whole point of Hamas is that they have great knowledge of Islam, they have perfect knowledge of Islam, they have perfect knowledge of the Quran, they are practicing Islam faithfully, accurately, completely, and that one of the things that they perpetuate and continue is the practice of the occult within Islam.
Wow.
Article
Okay.
2. I can show you that. I just don't have it right now, but certainly I've shown it to people. You asked me about are there references to the occult or to. Okay, so the one thing you will see is they will constantly speak of the alim, the people of knowledge, the ulama, the people of knowledge, the alim, person of knowledge. The Taliban, Talib is a student, the students of knowledge,
Yeah.
right? The knowledge that they refer to is the gnosis, which is Greek for the gnosis. We say the Gnosis, the gnosis, the gnosis. So that is the gnosis. When you look at when you don't know, ask the people who do know. When they say
Yeah.
know, when they say knowledge, they mean the people with the Gnostic knowledge, the people of Gnosis. So they are constant. Ask those who know, ask the ones who know. Allah knows those who do know the knowledge. They're not speaking of people who know stuff, but people who have the secret knowledge. There are constant allusions to the secret knowledge, the references constantly over and over and over. They're there. You just need to know, but you don't know because they're speaking in code most of the time.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's what I asked. Is there any way to break down the code? obviously I wouldn't know because I'm not involved in this, but you have more knowledge and you're much more versed and read than I am. So have you picked up anything of how to break the code and get into the deeper secrets of what this thing's all about? What have you picked up? You don't have to
Look,
share
I
that with
don't
me,
know. The
obviously. You
thing is,
don't have
look,
to share
okay,
that with
so
me.
guys, so briefly, look, I mean, I don't want to go too far down the story because again, I don't
Yeah,
know this as
yeah,
well as I
sure.
know the. Remember, I said there are two sides to Islam. There's the Sharia and there is the Hakika. All of this falls in the Hakika. Now, the major practitioners of this, the true power in Islam, are not the Sharia practitioners. It's not the imams. It's not the sheikhs. It's not the qadis. They are lower level operators. It's like a need to know basis. The true power in Islam are the spiritual practitioners. Well, simple term we'd use is in our frame of reference, we'd say spiritual, but actually it's a cult, right? So the Gnostic practitioners, and these are the Sufi. The Sufi are the real power in
Yeah,
Islam.
you told me
They
that.
are
Yeah,
the
you
major
told me.
level of Islam. So the saints, they are the saints. They are the most spiritual. They are the ones. The Sufi has to master the Sharia. He has to be fully Sharia compliant. However, he also masters the Hakika. So he is above the level of the imams and the sheikhs and the qadis. So they have a completely different set of knowledge. Now, I have not read their Sharia manuals in any depth. Should I bring up the one where they speak, where they show the Illuminati? Should I bring that up? Should I show that one?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. So we've got Daughter Balmasi says Muslim Sharia is really Babylonian magic. Now, look, there is a real connection there. There is some, again, I need to speak
Yeah,
to a friend of mine.
yeah, yeah.
Two, I don't like to go there because you have to connect a lot of dots, and sometimes these dots are widely separated because they are, as Erkan very accurately said, it's deliberately obfuscated. The Quran is deliberately obfuscated. They've done a great job of hiding things, and there's actually a name for it in Islam, where if you read the Talmud, for instance, and Dr. Valmasi mentioned the Talmud, you did say something, but one part's not entirely accurate, and I will speak about that in a moment. The Talmud's like one book and you can read it and everything's there. But you see, the problem with the way Islam is done, it's distributed. So you have a book and there'll be a few words here. And then they'll reference another book, and that book's over here. And then that book will have a few words and a couple of sentences. Then you have to go to a third book. And that book will have 10 paragraphs, but then it references you to another book. Then you need 20 books to get one thing. Understand? They've distributed, they have a name for it. There actually is a name for it. So this stuff is distributed. So it's not in one book. So you read this book and go, oh, yeah, that's a major scholar. That's what he had to say. Ah, it's only 5 sentences. Ah, can't be. There's thousands of them. You just need to get all 50 books. That's the problem. They've distributed this thing. It's so, you need to know, it's like a maze. It's a web of interconnections. If you're not a scholar, you're not going to know this. Understand? It's taken me a long time to figure this out. Dr. Balmasi, you mentioned the Talmud. Islam, as we've shown, explicitly allows infant sex. It explicitly allows
Yes, it
sex
does.
with infants. When I say infant, I mean 0 to 1 year old.
Yeah, it's really
Okay,
sick.
it
Oh gosh.
explicitly allows
Oh,
it. Okay, marriage, divorce, and sex. Okay, the Talmud stands against it. Bluntly, I'll tell you, I've done shows and the Talmud does not
yeah,
allow it under no
yeah.
circumstances. If a Jew is doing it, he is violating all the tenets of the
Yeah,
Bible. He is
yeah.
violating Jewish law. He is not practicing even rabbinic
Judaism.
Judaism. Now, I'm
Yeah,
not saying I agree with rabbinic Judaism. Sorry, I'm not saying I agree with rabbinic Judaism. I'm not saying I agree with the Talmud, but I want it represented accurately
yeah,
for what it actually says.
yeah.
Now, actually, hold on. Just considered. Hold on. Let me actually bring up this. Um, Actually, hold on. I need to. Is um, shush. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna find something here. So section marriage in the Talmud. Actually, let me bring this up because actually let me just show this because this is going to be useful to you guys. The claim that Jews allow child sex is completely false. It's complete garbage. Okay, and the people who are saying that, including a very well-known scholar called Heikel Mothman, he knows who he is. He's talking out of his backside. Okay, there are 4 references in the Talmud, and I've done 7 series on this. I've done 7 shows on this in detail. The seduction of a minor girl is considered rape. That is in the Talmud. It appears 4 times. Somehow they'll show you, but the Talmud allows sex with a 3-year-old girl. Nonsense, nonsense. If you believe this, you have been fooled. You did not take 2 minutes to actually just go read the Talmud yourself. And whoever's enjoying this is either lying to you or he's been lied to. Talmud Yevamot or Yevamot 33b. The seduction of a minor girl is considered rape. That is the Jewish law. However, there are different chapters where this appears. In the one chapter where they always quote that a rabbinic priest, a Jewish priest, can have sex with a 3-year-old girl, this is completely misconstrued. It's twisted. When a girl is 3 years or below and she is raped, she's molested, right? She is considered impure. She doesn't have the same ritual
Right.
status
Yeah.
as someone. So when she's
Yeah.
old enough, the age of marriage in Jewish law varies between 18 and 22, right? So when she is old enough for marriage, a priest cannot, if she was raped when she was 3 years and 1 day, right? If she had to be molested and lost her virginity due to this when she was 3 years and 1 day, she is not pure anymore. She's lost her virginity. She's not considered pure. And at that point, she cannot be the priest. She cannot be married to a Jewish
Turkish.
priest. She
Yeah.
cannot be because his wife must be pure,
Pure.
must be
Yeah.
ritually pure.
Yeah.
If she was molested at less than 3 years, then this is considered she is still in the innocent phase, and all of this is forgiven. It's forgotten. She's no longer. So there are about
Impure.
6 or 7 phases. So 0 to 3 years, 3 to 9,
1 day.
9 to
Yeah.
12, 12 to 15, 15 to 18, and 18 to 22. I think those are, it varies, but those are the different ages for boys and girls where they are considered in different phases. So if
Yeah.
something happens in a given phase, they are not responsible, or they are responsible, or they're legally bound, or they're not legally bound, depending on the age. And it also, they vary it based on the person. If you're mature at a certain age, they'll say fine. But at no point are you allowed to go and diddle 3-year-olds. That's a lie. That's a complete and
Yeah.
utter and total lie.
Yeah.
And please don't believe that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when
You've
they
been
say, sorry?
No,
Sorry.
you've been through that in detail on quite a few of your streams, and that makes
Yeah.
sense to me now as well. So yeah,
So,
that's the correct way to clear that up
yeah.
to make sense of that. That's
The
correct. Yeah.
code is the Talmud nonsense. Daughter of Almighty, I'm sorry, but that's not true. I mean, I'm gonna have to take you to task there if you're gonna start pushing that, because most of that, I'm not saying the Talmud is awesome. Okay, I'm not saying the Talmud's great, but I do want it to be represented accurately.
Accurately. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you'll find some crazy stuff in the top. Believe me, I read it for months. For months. I spent months reading it before I did 7 shows on it, discussing it.
Ah,
Understand? It took me that there are 12 million words in that thing. It's going to take you a lifetime to read the darn thing. So I mean, I read a portion of it, and it's boring like crazy. You won't believe how boring it is, and there's some really weird things in there. But for instance, the thing there's a claim that say that if a girl is diddled when she's less than 3, this is nothing. Okay, all that means is that this is not considered as counting against her. It doesn't damage her
yeah.
ritual purity. She's still
Wedding.
considered
Yeah.
innocent, she's still considered a virgin, she's still pure, and there is no legal penalty. But the fact that it says this everywhere, there's multiple headings, the chapter headings. Also, the chapter where they discuss the rape of the little girl. Okay, there's about 25 scenarios they present. They start with, if I recall, a brother and a sister having sex with each other. And in fact, what people don't realize is these headings, Yevamot, and all these other headings of the Talmud, they're actually headings, they're chapter headings. And these chapter headings refer to laws, be it criminal laws, be they ritual laws, be they religious laws, be they social laws, be they related to money. And the chapter where they talk about the girl being diddled, that's in a chapter on rape. A chapter on rape. So they're talking about rape, and everyone's going, oh, that's allowed. No, because there's 24 different scenarios before it. They talk about a father sleeping with his daughter, a father sleeping, a mother with her son, a grandmother, the aunt. They speak of strangers. They go through all these scenarios and they question, what about this? What about this? What about this? What if it's like this? What if she volunteered? What if it wasn't voluntary? What if it was, what if it happened like this? What if it happened inside? What if it happened outside? What if they knew each other? What if they didn't know each other? What if they were drunk? There's a million questions.
Yeah.
And then the
Criteria.
last one is, what if it's a 3-year-old girl? So the other 24 all considered crimes. They're all crimes, but the last one in the list of rapes is like, oh, that's permission.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Exactly.
You must think I'm stupid, because if you believe that, you are. So sorry, that's my story. I'll let you go
Uh,
on from there, Stephen. Your comments.
no, I'm finished. I'm finished. Yeah, that's the correct way to sum up. You've done some live streams on that before, and that's accurately depicted the way you explained it. But I'm finished. I just wanted to give those verses on the Quran, how to refute the argument that Allah cannot enter His creation. Um, yeah, I'm finished, Lloyd. Thank you. I'm finished.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, guys, that's it from me. Yeah, I want to finish it because man, I have to work tomorrow, so I got work to do, and I'm tired already. It's been a long day. But thank you, Stephen, for coming on. Shall we do
No,
this again
you're
maybe
welcome.
next week?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe these
Yes,
Friday streams can veer off into the,
yeah.
we can just head
But you
into
know
the
what?
X Files.
Ever since you gave me those references, I can't stop looking into this stuff because I didn't know it before either. And the more I'm looking at it, it's starting to blow my mind, and it's really really crazy stuff. So sorry that we went off on a bit of a tangent, but once you start speaking about this stuff, you go, it's deep, it's deep. So no, I appreciate it. You've taught me more about the occult side of Islam than I even knew existed. So I'm grateful for that. So I'm reading and learning, and yeah, my brain is scrambled a bit, but yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm tired as well. She calls it Freaky Friday from Daughter Valmasi. Freaky Friday. Yeah, I
yeah,
guess so.
yeah, sure, yeah,
So,
we,
guys, please, if you do like this, please hit the like button. And if you are going to donate, please don't donate to other people that have my name.
yeah,
I
yeah.
do
That's
appreciate. Look, guys, this stuff takes work. I mean, I do spend hours reading this stuff. You'd be amazed how many hours go into preparing for these things. Luckily, today I didn't have to do much. Stephen did the hard work here, so thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in one night. You know, Coffee Bean, if I do too little, people say I didn't do enough. If, there's too little detail. If I do too much detail, I get complaints. It's too much.
Yeah,
It's weird. It's weird. Actually, it's like, okay, fine. So I'll just do whatever I feel like and people will complain regardless.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, can't win,
No,
Lloyd.
guys. Yeah, don't donate to other Lloyd's Bank doesn't need the money. That's
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
guys.
definitely not.
So, guys, I
Yeah,
hope that was helpful. Hope that was useful to you. Please don't believe the stories about the Talmud. If you want, I can do a series on the Talmud, but that's going to be like fairly lengthy and detailed. There's a lot to unpack there. I have done shows on the subject of women in. We just did women in Islam. If I do women in Jewish law, it's a completely different
mm,
thing. You'd be shocked
yeah.
how different they are. Women are treated with incredible respect in Jewish law.
Yes, yes, they are.
Incredible respect.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Um,
Yeah, go on.
the only thing different is, yeah, very, you're right. It's women are treated with a lot more respect in Judaism than they are Islam. Just remember Muhammad's farewell sermon. Women are like domestic animals. They can possess nothing of their own, and their husbands can beat them the second they think that they've stepped out of line. So
Yeah,
compare that to what Judaism and Christianity teaches about women. You'll see which religion really liberates women and lifts them up, and which one is from
yeah,
Satan and degrades them. So yeah,
yeah. So maybe I'll take a Friday or something and do a show on the Talmud. I might have to do some stuff on rabbinic Judaism. Unpack my old notes and do some stuff refreshes on that. Because there's a lot of misconceptions, and Muslims are deliberately spreading a lot of these lies, and there's lots of
yeah,
their allies that are doing so as well. And
yeah.
you're being lied to. Bluntly, you're being lied
Yeah,
to.
you are. Yeah, absolutely. But that's Islam. They have to spread. The only way Islam is spread is through lies, right? And also, guys, if you are listening, please check out Lloyd's video with Shamoon Haqqani, talking about the treatment of women in Islam. That's very interesting and eye-opening as well. That will give you a bit more of detail behind how women are treated in Islam compared to Christian and Judaic practices and customs. So that's definitely something. If you haven't watched it already, I've been following it for the last few episodes, and yeah, it's
Yeah, thank
an
you.
accurate depiction of how
No, I
women are
appreciate
treated
it.
in Islam, and how we need to wake up and see the value of women in Christianity and Islam. So yeah, definitely check out those streams. Definitely check them out.
Do a special live on the occult side, man. I don't know enough about it. I'd have to prep.
Yeah, that would be
You
good.
have
Yeah,
no idea. It takes to do a 60 to 90 minute presentation takes me about 7 to 8 hours of prep minimum. A minimum.
yeah,
Seriously, you're looking at 6 to 8 hours of
yeah,
preparation and study and to do a 90-minute live stream. And
yeah,
if I don't know the subject, it'll take me much, much longer than that. It's
yeah. And I
huge.
and I
Yeah.
only know half. I don't know half the stuff that Lloyd knows. So he's the one who opened my eyes to it. So if it takes him that long, I'm gonna have no chance. So yeah, man,
Yeah,
it's
no.
crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
one day I
Crazy
will
stuff.
look into it. It's just that yeah, I'm really comfortable on the Sharia side, but the occult side is just freaky, man. It's just like
Yeah,
I can't read this stuff.
yeah.
Okay,
Straight.
guys. Actually, hold on. I was going to show something on the. Oh wait, hold on. Should I show the Illuminati thing? Just the last bit. Should I do
Sure.
that? Um, yeah. Just so we get this done. Uh, So, okay, yes. Last thing, guys, before I go, I meant to do this. Uh, and okay, I've shown this before. I will show this again, and you guys decide for yourself what the heck this means. Let's go here. I'm going to remove this. Oopsie, it didn't come up. Here we go. Okay, this is from Al-Ghazali. He is the #1 Islamic scholar in the world in history after Muhammad. He's considered the prime Islamic scholar, the perfect Islamic scholar, the greatest Islamic scholar after Muhammad. So he says here, he writes here of, okay, so you need to understand the Allah is the illuminator, okay? Allah is the illuminant. The Sufi are the illuminated, okay? The pinnacle, the top scholars of the Sufi, the greatest scholars of the Sufi are the Illuminati. I didn't write that. He says here, okay, so you have those who stop short of complete illumination, okay? He says identified al-Mutta with Allah, okay? So the illuminator is Allah, okay? And so anyway, then he says that the perfect Illuminati, the ones who receive the perfect light of Allah. Remember, the light of Allah, the Nur-i-Muhammadi, the light of Muhammad. The perfect Illuminati perceive that Al-Mutta, the obeyed one, is not more than the highest other than absolute deity and is related to him as the sun to essential light. So the obeyed one is Muhammad. He's the light of Allah, the light that Allah sent into the world. And he is not more than the highest other than absolute deity because he's a part of Allah. His light returned to Allah, right? He is the manifestation of Allah. So Muhammad is the manifestation. Now, the word hadith, there's another meaning to hadith that you don't know. Hadith means to manifest. It's a manifestation. So it's a manifestation of Muhammad, and Muhammad is the manifestation of Allah. Like Jesus is the manifestation of God on earth, Muhammad is the manifestation of Allah on earth. Okay? So basically, Muhammad is related to Allah as the sun is to the essential light of God. So Muhammad is the son of Allah.
Oh
The
my
sun,
God.
the sun, S-U-N, not the S-O-N, understand? But the Illuminati understand the ultimate reality, and the Illuminati are the Sufi. I'll leave you guys with that. You figure it out for yourself. I didn't write this.
Yeah, I figured it out. I think I got it already. But oh my God. So basically, this confirms that Muhammad is a deity and Muslims are committing shirk, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, guys.
Yeah,
So anyway, I gotta call it, guys. I gotta work. Good grief, I'm tired already. I gotta prep.
yeah, sure.
So
Um,
guys, yeah. Let the conspiracy
very,
theories
very
begin.
interesting stuff. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Wow,
thanks, Andrew.
wow.
Yeah. So maybe, yeah, that light of Muhammad. Yeah, the Nuri Muhammadi. But we also need to look at what there's a difference between what the Sharia scholars say and what the Hakika scholars say, because there's additional stuff there that's missing from the Sharia side. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna call it a good night. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Andrew
Yes, thank
Martin,
you guys.
Elias Muhammad. Yeah, true, but yeah. Anyway, hey guys, we can go and hold on. I gotta get out of here. Take care, guys. See ya. Thank you, Stephen.
God bless you, everybody. Yes, thank you for having me on. God bless you, everybody.
Cheers,
Be
dudes.
safe. Yes.
Bye.